Hello guys, a very good morning to all of you. I hope you have already revised the previous doubt lessons carefully. Now today I am going to start with the very important types of binary relations. The definition of binary relations has already been discussed in the previous class. Here we need to put focus on the types of binary relations. We have just written 8 important types of binary relations over here. Though 2 of them are not included in the syllabus, but we have to discuss them also because the questions in competitive exams also comes from those 2 relations. That is why I am just going to let you know about those 2 relations too. So if you want to go through that one, I have written on the board, you just have a look and I just read all those relations whatever is written. But before that I just assure you that no questions in the board exams are going to come from those 2 relations which is not included in the syllabus. Now you will be curious to know that which 2 relations are there which is not included in the syllabus. So I must let you know that the 4th and 5th one are not in your syllabus. The first 3 as well as the last 3 are in your syllabus, but 4th and 5th are not there in your syllabus, which are none other than the antisymmetric as well as asymmetric relations. One by one I just read all those relations and you have to keep it in mind, as well as you may be noting it down on your notebook. So the first one is identity relation, second one reflexive relation, third one is, what is that, symmetric relation, the 4th one is antisymmetric, the 5th one asymmetric relation, 6th one is the transitive relation, 7th one is equivalence relation, and the last but not the least one is the congruence modulo and relations. All these 8 relations we are going to discuss about today only. So antisymmetric and asymmetric relations, these 2 relations are not included in the syllabus. But I have been watching and that in competitive exams, especially in IIT, JEE Mains or Advanced, the questions usually comes from these 2 relations. So this is my duty to let you know about these 2 relations too. And we shall be watching that how are these 2 relations related to each other as well as with symmetric relation. And we shall be also finding that identity relation and reflexive relations are also related to each other. So one by one we are going to discuss about all these 8 relations over here. So in the very first video, in this video we shall be talking about the first 2, and in the next video we shall be talking about the 3rd one, 4th one as well as 5th one, and accordingly we shall be proceeding ahead in the succeeding videos. So I just give you the definition as well as some examples to make you understand about these 2 relations. So guys, here only a relation R in A, that is R is a subset of A cross A, is called an identity relation. And what is the condition for that? R contains xy, where x and y are undoubtedly belong to A and x is equal to y. So this is the condition you have to follow. Means what? Whatever the elements in A cross A lie, we are concerned about only those elements, that means those pairs of A cross A, where the components are equal to each other, and all those elements should be taken into consideration. You cannot escape with any one of that pair where the components are equal. Then in that case identity relation will not exist. And the same relation will be called the reflexive relation. It says that xx must belong to R for all x belongs to A. That means it is compulsory that for all x belongs to A, x is R related to x. Now the question arises that then what is the difference between these 2? The same thing we are talking about. Whatever we just talked about identity relation, the same thing we are talking about the reflexive relation. No, but there is a slight difference between these. What is that slight difference? Here it is said that for all x belongs to A, we need to take xx. Except that we are allowed to take any other elements also. That means here we have to take xx from A cross A. It is mandatory, but we can also include some other elements of A cross A. We have got some privileges in case of reflexive relation. But so far as identity relation is concerned, there we don't have any such privilege that we are going to add any such pair of A cross A where the components are not equal. So this is the only difference between identity relation as well as reflexive relation. On the basis of that, you can say that whatever the identity relations are there, they are also reflexive. Yes, it is, but all reflexive relations are not identity relation, means the converse need not be true. So I have just given some example. You may be watching carefully. We have just taken that A contains 3 elements 1, 2, 3. Then what will be A cross A? It will certainly contain 9 elements 1, 1, 1, 2, 1, 3 and so on up to 3, 3. Now so far as identity relation is concerned, whatever we are going to talk or we are going to consider about, we have to consider only those elements of A cross A where the components are equal to each other, and they are none other than 3 elements lying in A cross A. They are 1, 1, 2, 2 as well as 3, 3. So identity relation gives you a set of containing 3 elements, 3 pair elements, I mean to say, where the components are equal 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3. Now if I ask you that whether R1 or R2, whatever I have written, R1 I have written as containing 4 elements 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3 as well as 1, 2. Now here, can you say that this is an identity relation? The answer is flatly a big no, because no doubt 1, 1 is okay, 2, 2 is also okay, 3, 3 is also okay, but what about the 4th element in this particular relation R1? 1, 2 is there in R1 where 1 is not equal to 2. So that won't be considered as an identity relation. Now the next one I have written R2 contains 1, 1 as well as 2, 2. Here, are you confused about that? Here someone may be confused that, sir, yes, xy is there and x is equal to y. But my dear, you just forgot to take 3, 3 over there, because 3 is also an element of A. Whatever I told you previously earlier, that as many elements of A cross A where the components are equal to each other will be taken into consideration to define the identity relation. Got it? I think you have got it. Now, so these two are not identity relation, whereas this one is the identity relation. Now, so far as a reflexive relation is concerned, I have just told you that for all x belongs to A, x must be R related to x. So it is customary to take xx belongs to R where x belongs to A. Except that we are allowed or we are free to choose any other elements of A cross A. As in the example, I have just written 2 examples, 2 relations, I mean to say I have written over there. R contains 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 1, 2, 2, 3, as well as S contains 1, 1, 2, 2, 1, 2. So just go on watching it carefully. You will be finding yourself whether it is reflexive or not according to the definition. According to definition, is every x related to x in R? Yes. X are what? The values of x is what? 1, 2 as well as 3, and 1, 1, 2, 2 and 3, 3 are present over there. No matter, we have taken 1, 2 as well as 2, 3. But in S, 1, 1 is there, okay, 2, 2 is there, okay, 1, 2 is there, okay, but 3, 3 is not there in S, whereas 3, 3 should be there, must be there to define it as a reflexive relation. Means what? In the case of S, the reflexivity is contradicted. That is, we do have something to contradict over there to conclude that this is not a reflexive relation. So you will have formed that this one, the first one, means R is a reflexive relation, but S is not a reflexive relation. One more thing, we have been watching that the reflexive relation is not an identity relation, but the identity relation is always a reflexive relation. So mind it that IA, that is the set of identity relation, is always a subset of what? R, the set of reflexive relation. So this is the relation between these two relations, that the set of identity relations, that yes, is always a subset of the reflexive relation, but the converse need not be true, right? I just show you the same example with the help of a grid to brush up your mind and to make you, what is that, clear-cut concept about these two relations. Just watch, very simple. I just give you the example over there. The same example I am going to use with the help of a grid. And what is that? That means for I'm sorry, 1 1 1 2 1 3 2 1 2 2 2 3 1 3 2 3 3. I haven't written as a pair, I am just making you understand. So far as identity relation concerned, only these diagonal elements are allowed over there. Only these diagonal elements will be taken into consideration. But in order to define the reflexive relation, you are free to choose any other elements. That means the non-diagonal elements may also be chosen in addition to what? The diagonal elements. We cannot escape with any one of the diagonal elements, whatever is written over there. That means 1, 1, 2, 2, as well as 3, 3. They cannot be skipped at all. Now, I just put some more examples to make you understand about the reflexive relation, and on the basis of that, you will be able to tackle with the problems given in your exercise or whatever is asked in the board exams. So let us discuss some few examples. We have considered a relation R1 from R to R. What is R over there? The set of real numbers we have considered over there. Means the relation is defined from the set of reals to the set of reals, and it is given by A is equal to B, where AB is an element of R. Means what? What is the relation between A and B? The relation of equality. What about in the second case? The relation of less than. In the third case, the relation of greater than. In the fourth case, relation of less than or equal to. Relation of greater than or equal to. Now, one by one, you have to check it out, as well as you have to judge whether the given relations are reflexive or not. Out of these 5, which one is reflexive and which one is not, whether all of them are reflexive or all of them are not reflexive, let us check it out. You have to consider in this case, because I must warn you that every time you are not going to be provided a finite set containing a few elements, so you could write A cross A immediately and check whether the given relation is reflexive or not. Here the given set is an infinite set, and on the basis of some logic you can very well conclude that whether it is reflexive or not. And the very simple logic is that whenever we say that A is equal to B, what is to be done for reflexive relation? We have to relate every element with itself, with the given relation, and check or judge whether this relation holds true or not. So if I say that A is always equal to A for every A belongs to R, that means the set of reals. Is it true or not? Yes, you will be answering it as a big yes. Yes, sir. Every element is equal to itself. Since A is always equal to A for all A belongs to R. So we say that on this basis that the relation of equality is a reflexive relation. What about less than? Undoubtedly A is not less than A. And what about in the third one? A is not greater than A. So no element can be less than itself as well as greater than itself. Therefore these two are not reflexive relation, whereas this one is a reflexive relation. Now the question of the last two relations, that means less than or equal to as well as greater than or equal to. The students get confused over there also. Here we are talking about less than or equal to. That means we have to check whether A is less than or equal to A or not. If I write that A is less than or equal to A, or we write A is greater than or equal to A, will you be agree with me or not that A is less than or equal to A? Yes, you must be agree with me that A is less than or equal to A. Here the condition lies between A is that A should be either less than A or equal to A. So one of these two holds true, that is A is equal to A. So on the basis of that we say that this relation is reflexive, because every element is less than or equal to itself. We may be writing 2 is less than or equal to 2, 5 is greater than or equal to 5. This is mathematically true. So this less than or equal to as well as greater than or equal to, they are undoubtedly reflexive. Now some more examples I am giving. Suppose L is the set of lines in two-dimensional plane. L belongs to XY plane, right? Now the relation between them is defined as R is equal to L1, L2, such that L1 is parallel to L2, and S is equal to L1, L2 such that L1 is perpendicular to L2. Now, just go on watching these two examples. You have to judge whether any line from the set L, means the set of lines in xy plane, whether any line is parallel to itself or not. Yes, undoubtedly every line is parallel to itself. So on the basis of that, we may say that L is parallel to itself for all L belongs to what? L. So this relation, what is that called? That is called as the relation of parallelism. That is a reflexive relation, because every relation can be related to itself with the given relation what is parallel to. So far as the second relation, whatever we have discussed over here, that is the relation of perpendicularity. Is any line perpendicular to itself? If someone writes that L1 is perpendicular to L1, do you agree with the fact? No, no one can agree, because no line can be perpendicular to itself. So this is undoubtedly false. So in that case, we say that the relation of perpendicularity is not reflexive. Likewise, a lot of relations you will be getting. Suppose in the set of human beings, what is that, residing in some locality, if the relation holds like AB belongs to that particular set where A is a husband of B. Now, or A is a wife of B, or A is a father of B, or something like that. Since no any person can be a husband of himself, no any lady can be a wife of herself, no any person can be a father of himself. So any A of that particular set, the set of human beings of a certain locality, cannot be associated among themselves or with each other with the help of the given relation, is a father of, or is a mother of, or is a husband of, or is a wife of. So in that case, all those relations are not, I mean to say, reflexive. Now very simple to reflect what is that relation I am going to talk about. What about the relation phi, that is empty relation? Is it a reflexive relation? No, that is not reflexive relation, because phi contains no element. Whatever the given set is there, that must contain some element. Suppose only one element is there, then the pair of that element with itself must lie in that one, and since the empty relation contains no element, that's why phi is not a reflexive relation. What about the equivalence relation? Yes, since equivalence relations, every element of A cross A, in fact A cross A itself is a relation which is known as the equivalence relation, not universal relation. A cross A is itself a universal relation. So universal relation contains 1, 1, 2, 2, 3, 3, 4, 4, 5, 5, as many elements are lying in the given set A. So in that case, we say that A cross A is a reflexive relation, whereas the empty relation is not a reflexive relation. So I think you have already understood the difference between identity relation as well as reflexive relation, and a lot of examples I have recited over there to make you understand about the difference between them, as well as to clear a cut picture of reflexivity of the relation. So in the next video, we are going to discuss about symmetric relation, anti-symmetric relation, as well as the asymmetric relation, which are very, very important to know. So must not forget to watch the second video also after viewing this one. So have a very good concept of this one. Whatever I have taught, you have to keep it in your mind. If you do have some problem related to that, you just come to the comment box or do call my telephone number, whatever I have already provided to all of you, and talk to me about the problem, whatever you have got. And till then, guys, thank you very much for watching this video, and in the next video we shall be meeting again. Till then, do take care of yourself.